is Jay Cobb, and Mia Love is on her way, and when she is, we will bring her in. The format for today's forum, how it's going to work, is each candidate is going to have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, tell you why they're the best candidate for the 4th district, and after that we are going to have each candidate ask the candidate to their left one question. And once they'll have 1 minute to respond to the questions, and then we'll turn it over to questions from the audience. So we'll start here with Kenneth Gray, 3-minute introduction.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I have 3 degrees from this school, a bachelor's, master's, and PhD in political science, and also an international relations certificate. So I'm coming back not just to the university, but to the Hinckley Institute. Soon after I got my PhD, I was working on the Comparowitz Plateau as a research economist, planning a huge urban and industrial mining development there. And then after I worked there, I worked on a similar project in oil shale country as a research economist. This is eastern Utah and western Colorado. And that's where I really got my rooted in oil shale, because all the studies I was looking at indicated that we could produce all the energy we needed for 300 years to provide gasoline to the United States for what would be today $1.12 a gallon. And the oil shale is close to the surface, which makes it very easy to mine. That project was defeated because of a struggle between interest groups, but that didn't stop me from writing 4 books on this subject and 50 feature newspaper articles. I then went to work for the state of Utah as a labor market economist, where I worked for 6 years. And then I worked at Hill Air Force Base designing and implementing a project for maintaining Minuteman missiles. And then I created my own business, which was called Gray's Econometrics, and we did research on helping state governments forecast economic growth and development. But I also developed another system there called Swing to Victory. And what Swing to Victory does is it identifies where the swing voters are for a particular race. And we sold that to all 30 or 40 candidates then, and one of them was used against Wayne Owens. If you know anything about Wayne Owens, he's very much like Jim Matheson. He cannot win unless he gets the swing voters. He cannot win unless Republicans switch over and vote for him. So what we were able to do with Wayne Owens is identify the areas where he was pulling voters away from Republicans, and that's what the software does. It takes a tremendous database, and it's all ready, and he lost because of that, or because partly of that at least, primarily because of that. We have some evidence that it was the cause in some areas. And so that's all ready to go for Jim Matheson. I've been working on it for 2 years to get it all ready to go to run against Jim Matheson. It will be used against him if I become the nominee. And all we need to do to defeat Matheson is to bring the Republican swing voters home.
Okay, that's time.
Pardon me?
That's time, that's the 3 minutes.
Was that the 3 minutes?
Yeah. So thank you, Kenneth Gray. Our next candidate that we'll hear from is Stephen Sandstrom. 3 minutes.
Well, first off, it's a pleasure to be here this morning with the Hinckley Institute of Politics. And I really appreciate the work that's done here in furthering the effort to understand our political system. First and foremost, the reason I believe that I am the candidate that will be able to beat Jim Matheson is that I look at my life and my history and life experiences that I have had that's uniquely prepared me to be the Republican nominee for this new district. I really realize that I have lived the American dream. I've had opportunities that only you can have in the United States of America. I've had the opportunity to become a pilot at a very young age, at the age of 17. I've been able to be educated in this great country. I graduated from BYU with a degree in political science, so don't throw any stones. I know we're at the U of U campus, but I am a Cougar, and I graduated from BYU. I then had the opportunity to go to Arizona State and and go on in architecture. I have had other experiences in my life as a U.S. Marine, and I'm the only one in this race that's actually served in the military, including Jim Matheson. And I believe that unique experience uniquely qualifies me to serve in the United States Congress. Also, something that sets me apart in this race is that I am a businessman. I took over a business after my father had a stroke and built it from a company that only had 4 people in it on the verge of bankruptcy, and grew it into one of the most successful architectural firms in the entire Intermountain West. I have offices here in Utah, a branch office in Colorado, and I've been very successful. I've actually grown the economy. I've created jobs. I know what it takes to meet a payroll. I know what it takes to run a small business in America, and it's pretty darn tough. Previous to my experience as an architect, I flew as an airline pilot, starting at SkyWest Airlines and then going on to US Air, where I actually was a captain and enjoyed that experience as well in my life. And the other unique qualification I feel I have is that I'm the only one in this race that has served both at the local level, at the city council level, where I served 3 terms on the Orem City Council, and also 3 terms in the State House as a member of the House of Representatives. And I believe you take that combined experience with my in-depth knowledge of the issues that are important to people in Utah, and the issues that are important to people in this country, that I am equipped, the best equipped to represent you and to be the next congressman for the 4th Congressional District.
Very good, thank you. The next candidate we'll hear from is Carl Wimmer.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you. I'm honored to be here with you, and thanks to the Hinckley Institute. This is fantastic. This is my 2nd or 3rd opportunity that I've had to come up here and speak in a forum much like this, and I've always enjoyed it and appreciate the dialogue we have with the students, and I appreciate all of you for being here. I'm running for the 4th Congressional District because we have a lot of issues in this country. We actually stand at a crossroads right now, where we have to decide if we're going to continue down the same path that we're going, the path that President Obama has set for us, which is big government statism, where the federal government has the answers to all things, and indeed control every aspect of our life, including the aspects involved in our personal life. Or are we going to reclaim the lamp of liberty that our founding fathers had envisioned for us, where we are sovereigns, where the individual is to be free, and where the states are to be co-equals with the federal government? 6 years ago, I was fairly apolitical, working as a SWAT team commander and as a police officer. I've been involved in law enforcement my entire adult life. And I ran for the legislature because there was a series of things that were occurring here at the state level that caused me tremendous concern. There was a lot of talk about increasing taxes. There was a lot of talk about growing the size of government. And in fact, over the last decade, the size of the state government has increased dramatically. Those things concerned me and led me to run for state office. And quite frankly, I have to admit, I consider myself an accidental politician in the sense that I never intended to run for office. I was never politically active. In fact, the first time I went to a caucus meeting was the same year I was running for legislature. Never intended to win, but I did. And over the last 5 years, I've been involved in some of the most significant pieces of legislation and some of the most important fights that we have had here in the state of Utah. Whether it's the fight to reclaim our state sovereignty, the fight to reclaim our lands here in the state of Utah, the fight against Obamacare, having taken the lead on that, and in fact having legislation that I drafted quoted by the federal judge as part of the reason that the states had standing in the lawsuit against Obamacare. I've led in those fights in the state of Utah. I want to go back to Washington, D.C. and lead on the fights to pass a balanced budget amendment that cuts spending, caps spending, requires a 2/3 majority vote to raise taxes. I want to lead on deregulating our businesses and our individuals, and I want to return power to the states, where the states are co-equals once again with the federal government. That's why I'm running to the United States Congress.
Very good, thank you, Carl Wimmer. Next, we'll hear from Jay Cobb.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be here today. I thank you all for coming to this forum and listening to these candidates. We have some great candidates in this race. My name is Jay Cobb, and I'm running for the 4th Congressional District for actually one very simple reason, and my whole campaign's focused around one simple idea, and that idea is results. What I mean by that is we have talked far too long about our conservative vision as Republicans of what we want to achieve, and we know what that is. We know we need to cut government spending. We have to reduce our debt. We have to help the private sector in terms of fostering job creations. And we have to scale back the federal government and return the proper balance between the federal government and the states. That's not in dispute in this race, right? But despite all this talk, we've not actually we're not winning the fight. We fight the good fight, but we haven't won the good fight. And I'm running because I think I have something unique to bring that can be impactful in Washington, D.C., and it actually can get results. And let me highlight quickly four things I highlight when I'm out talking to people about what sets me apart and what makes me different than all the others. First is I'm the only candidate here who's actually worked in Washington, D.C. And been in the legislative trenches in a divided Congress. For a time, my job, I was legislative counsel. My job was actually to read bills and to look for unintended consequences and to negotiate language. And I learned a great deal back there about actually how it works, but also how to be effective and what it takes to actually bring people together when you're trying to promote legislation and pass bills. Two, I highlight my education and my private sector experience. I have a degree in economics. I went to law school, I have a law degree, and then after practicing for about 7 years, I went back and got an MBA. I've been in the private sector. I've been in a small telecommunications company here in Utah that was trying to grow, and I saw the struggles. Most recently, I was with a publicly traded company, and also saw the burdens they have on complying with regulations and all the things that come with that. I think that's important because you need a representative who has that perspective and that experience. There's no substitute for that experience because it's important to understand how when laws are made, how they actually are implemented and work on the ground level with businesses and with individuals. And that's what I bring to the table. Third, I'm not a career politician. The reason I jumped in this race, my motives for jumping this race, is truly because I thought I have something to offer. And at this particular time, I think I have an expertise that can be impactful in Washington, D.C. For me, the biggest issue is our economy and our spending. And I think I can be impactful in that way when I go back to D.C. My fourth reason to believe is my approach. I have a motto, and that motto is fight harder, fight smarter. We need to fight, but we need to do it in a way that's not polarizing. I believe we can actually find common ground, especially when we talk about the economy, and from there launch out and work with people who have different ideas and different philosophies to actually get meaningful reforms done in Washington, D.C. But it takes someone with the right personality, the right demeanor, and the right approach. And that's what I bring to the table. So that's why I'm running, and I look forward to your questions.
Very good, thank you. We'll start the next segment of this forum where each candidate asks the candidate to their left one question.
Do you want to wait till everyone's here?
No.
Questions first.
Yeah, well,
Just go ahead.
we'll just go ahead with this, and then maybe when she gets here, you can ask her your question, if you want to. So we'll start here with Kenneth, and you will ask Stephen Sandstrom your question.
Okay, being very specific, what is your main issue, and specifically, how could you make a difference in Congress?
Well, very good question. I think my main issue is jobs in the economy. That's number one. We have to get this economy jump-started. We have to get jobs created in America. The way we do that, number one, is to cut our government spending. When we're spending $1.7 trillion more than we take in, this economy will never turn around. We're flooding ourselves with unwanted debt. We're having countries control our currency, which controls the means of production in this country. And so for the jobs in the economy, the way we turn it back online and get it back on track is by deregulating a lot of businesses. We have to get the government off the back of small business. I'm a small business owner, and I see day in and day out the regulation that goes along with that, whether it's overburdening tax system, or the fact that I'm double